The two main executive producers of Game of Thrones D&D decided to take a year off after Season 7, and they also decided we only need 6 more episodes to wrap everything up for Season 8. Episodes 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 are amongst the worst rated shows for Game of Thrones. I believe Episode 3 was the worst rated show, until Episode 5 said, hold my beer, and it is now the most hated show ever made. So the show we have leading right up to the massive end of the entire series is the most hated show ever. So what has this all been leading up to? Well, we've got the leaks. The leaks tell us what's going to happen in Episode 6. We know the leaks are pretty much true. They've been true for Episode 4 and Episode 5. So let's get right to it. What are in these leaks? What have we got to look forward to? How bad is it going to be? There are 6 things here left to happen. The second last one is where the problem is. This is the ending. A council gets formed to decide who the king should be. Tyrion gives a speech, and everyone votes on Bran to become the king. The end. King Bran. King Bran is what we have. So just about the worst ending that we could ever get. Not only is it a terrible ending, the 5 episodes leading up to it have been terrible. I was willing to forgive a lot of the problems in episodes 1, 2, 3, and 4 because I still had hope that we're building up to some sort of excellent stuff in episode 5 and 6. So I did notice a lot of problems in 1, 2, 3, and 4, but I liked them in some regards. I actually liked episode 3. I didn't think episode 3 was supposed to be the best battle in the series because we've got some sort of battle coming up at the end of season 8, so I didn't think 3 had to be that special, and I liked that some people died, the Night King died, so there was some sort of progress. So I didn't mind episode 3. I liked episode 3 in the context that I thought that this shouldn't be a very special episode and there's more good stuff coming. There's no good stuff coming. So in that sort of context, yeah, episode 3 is trash. Episode 1, 2, and 4 do nothing. They just build up for whatever's going to happen next. So they're trash as well. Nothing happens after them. So 1, 2, 3, and 4 were complete rubbish. After I saw episode 4, I saw the leaks. I saw what the end's supposed to be. And so when the end is terrible and the build-up is nothing special, it's all terrible. So all of these 4 episodes are now horrible in the context of this is what we're leading up to. We're leading up to King Bran. What an absolute waste of 8 seasons. Now, I have also heard some people speculate that we're not going to get King Bran. What we're going to get is King Ghost. So Ghost is going to be running the 7 Kingdoms, the direwolf. That's something that maybe could be worse than Bran. And I've also heard some people say King Hot Pie. So King Hot Pie could be what we're getting. Is King Hot Pie better than Bran? I don't think it would be. I think that would be even sillier. But if we did get King Hot Pie or King Ghost, we could at least know for a fact that they are trolling the audience. That has to be a troll pick. Whereas Bran is a sort of subtle troll. It's not really out and out, has to be a troll pick, but it's absolutely stupid. It's very disappointing. So back to these leaks now. I've crossed off what happened in episode 4 in the yellowy green lines, and I've crossed off what happened in episode 5 in the orange line. So all of these things were true. So we know that these things were true. There's no reason to think that the rest is not true for episode 6. So I don't really have a big problem with all of the other things here, except really for the whole King Bran thing. So the first one we have here is Dany has Tyrion arrested to be executed for freeing Jaime. Yeah, that makes sense. Tyrion tries to convince Jon that his family will never be safe because his lineage makes him a threat to Dany's rule. That makes sense. Jon tries to talk to Dany, but she justifies her actions. Sure, that makes sense. Jon pledges himself to Dany, but then stabs her. That makes sense. Then surrenders himself. I don't think that makes sense. Well, the surrendering might, but if we look at the last section, in the epilogue, Jon takes the black again for killing Dany. I think that makes absolutely no sense at all. Now, in the rest of the epilogue, Arya leaves, fine. Sansa rules the north, fine. Bran oversees a council of Tyrion, Davos, Sam, and Bronn, fine. I don't want King Bran, but okay, that's who's on the council. So what it feels like has actually happened to me is that George R.R. Martin has told them this is how these characters are all going to end, but they have no way of actually getting the characters there, and the writers that they have aren't writers, okay? Well, they're not the writers of the caliber of George R.R. Martin. And so, for example, they've been told what's going to happen to Jon is he's going to actually take the black again and end up on the wall. And so they go, okay, we'll stick with that ending. This is what Jon's going to do. But they're like, well, how do we even get him there? I don't know. He'll murder someone and then he'll surrender himself. It doesn't make a lot of sense. So there could be something that is well written and executed to describe Jon going and taking the black again somehow. Sounds a bit dumb to me, but that could perhaps happen in a well executed manner. But this doesn't seem very well thought out at all. He's just killed a mass murdering maniac and he's now got to go take the black for his crimes. What? He would just get pardoned by the new king, or he should become the new king. So that's really what makes sense to me, is that him and Dany have got the 2 best claims right now. If Dany dies, it's got to be King Jon, or King Jon's got to be killed. That's the only option that I think is actually sensible. So someone else murders Jon, I'm fine with that. But if he kills Dany, he has to rule the Seven Kingdoms. I don't see that it's sensible at all for him to go and take the Black. And I think that's basically what's happened with all the other characters. So they were probably told that, oh yeah, Jaime and Cersei, they'll die in each other's arms. And so they then had to reverse engineer some sort of, we've got her in the Red Keep, Jaime's outside in the north, we'll just have him travel down and get captured and somehow gets in. Everything just feels like it's not well thought out, but they've got an end point. Jorah, what's going to happen to Jorah Mormont? Oh yeah, he's going to die defending Dany. But they go, we've got Dany on a dragon in this episode. How's he going to defend Dany if she's on a dragon? We'll just get her to land in the middle of the undead, and then they'll fight and knock her off, and then Jorah will just conveniently be right there, and he'll defend her, and then he'll die. So, again, I really feel like this is what's happened. They've got a semi-thought-out, this is how everybody's got to end, but they've got absolutely no plan to get to the end. And all of these 5 episodes so far, that's what they feel like. There's no plan here at all, but they know that, we're going to have Dany murdered by Jon. That's our end. What else happens? Dunno. And that is what we've got for this season. So what do the actual producers think about the upcoming episode? We've got the 2 producers, D&D, or Benioff and Weiss. In this article here, it says, the final episode of Game of Thrones will run 80 minutes. Series creators David Benioff and D.B. Weiss wrote and directed the final installment. Making it the only episode of the show's final season, they stepped behind the camera to helm. The creators are credited as the writers on the final 4 episodes of the series. I didn't realize they actually wrote any of the episodes. Both Benioff and Weiss told Entertainment Weekly earlier this year it would be impossible to please every fan with the show's ending, which is one reason they won't be online when the last 80 minutes air. They know King Bran is not going to go down well. That is why they're not going to be online. They know it. They know King Bran has failed. In fact, they've been doing these strange things after each episode this season. I don't know if they've ever done this before. I've not noticed them. But they've got these little featurette things. After the credits of each episode, they then go and explain what actually happened in the episode as if they know that nothing makes sense and they need to get ahead of the story and stop people saying, what's happened here? I don't get it. And so they're actually explaining, here are all the things that you might not have understood. You shouldn't have to do that if you actually have competent writing. So having them after every single episode, right directly after it, going, hey, here's all the things you probably think weren't very good, they know it's not good. They must realize there's something fundamentally wrong with particularly this season, but I think every single episode after they ran out of books from George R. R. Martin has been a real problem. But 6 episodes can't tie everything up, and I don't think these guys know what they're doing. I think they adapted George R. R. Martin's books excellently. I think, once again, when they've run out of books, there's some problems here. This article goes on to say, as for the show's ending, we submitted, we want people to love it. It matters a lot to us. We spent 11 years doing this. We also know no matter what we do, even if it's the optimal version, that a certain number of people will hate the best of all possible versions. King Bran is not the optimal version. Nothing this season has been optimal. It has been a waste of time and things that shouldn't have happened. Very illogical actions are happening by people. Dany's turn is just crazy. No pun intended. I have no problems at all if that was Dany's character arc. I think that's an excellent idea. She starts off as this innocent 12-year-old. She's got a brother that molests and beats her. She gets married off to someone she doesn't want to marry. And then she, frees all the slaves. She rules all these people. She gets a grand army. And then if she then turns into the tyrant, which she hated to begin with, I think that's perfectly fine. And if she wants to be this is the main bad person at the end of the show, I think that is quite a good character arc. She didn't get an arc, though. She just had a sudden jump. She just had a different personality take over. Maybe she's schizophrenic, but the bells rung and it triggered something in her, and she suddenly became a homicidal maniac and just burnt random people and buildings. So the actual quickness of her character movement, I think, was a big problem. I also think we need a lot more episodes to take her down. Okay, she's got a dragon, she's got a massive army. This has got another couple of seasons to take on this one. This is a real villain. This is better than any villain we've actually had in Game of Thrones. This is the most powerful person ever. She's the most evil person ever. She's genocidal, but she's just going to get stabbed by Jon. So back to this article, there's no version where everybody says, I have to admit, I agree with every other person on the planet. This is the perfect way to do this. Well, of course, but no one is going to say that for Bran, though. King Bran, the most optimal choice. It's a terrible choice. I mean, do they think that no choice will be popular, so he might as well just be unpopular with everybody? Who wants King Bran? That's an impossible reality. That doesn't exist. You hope you're doing the best job you can. The version that works better than any other version, but somebody's not going to like it. Nobody will like this. Okay, nobody will like this. For all of the people that haven't read these spoilers, what is going to happen after the end of this episode? There's King Bran? What? Everybody's been struggling. Who's got the best army? Who's the best backstabber? Who's the best manipulator? Who's going to become the new ruler? And we got the guy that doesn't care. He doesn't want to be a ruler. He doesn't have any desires. And he's got no army. He's got no backing. He's got no scheming. And he's going to be the default winner. Now, the only way it makes sense to me for him to be the default winner is they do something silly like what happened with Cersei blowing everyone up in one go. If King's Landing's throne room explodes and Bran is the only guy outside the city, okay, he's the ruler because he's the only nobility left. I still think that's dumb, but for having him voted in, there has to be someone better. There has to be better candidates than King Bran. So what else do we know will actually happen in this episode other than these few things that are leaked out? We get the trailer. The trailer has got a Tyrion that doesn't look very happy at all. He's obviously 100% against Dany at this point in time. We also get Arya looking quite upset or angry. She looks like she's about to go kill somebody. And then we see that Daenerys now has a reconstituted loyal army. She's got a massive number of Unsullied, looks like far more survived the Episode 3 battle than I thought, so maybe these are all new troops sent in from the east, but she's now conveniently got a whole pile of more loyal troops, and she's also got a whole pile of Dothraki. There were lots of Dothraki in Episode 5. I thought they all died in Episode 3, but Episode 5 had a whole pile of Dothraki, and she's got a whole pile of Dothraki right here for Episode 6. So they're showing that she's now a big tyrant, she's very evil, she's got an unstoppable dragon, she's got a massive army that's loyal to her, but instead of us getting 5 more episodes or another season to how do we get rid of this big threat? This is the biggest threat anyone's ever had, and she's the most evil character ever. What did Cersei do? Like, what was the most evil thing Cersei did? She wasn't generally a nice person, but she basically blew up the Sept and killed maybe a couple of hundred people, which obviously isn't nice. Dany's just killed 1 million people, okay? This is a different level of psychopath. So she's a good enemy for everyone to have now. How are we going to deal with this advanced villain with all of these things at her disposal? Oh, Jon's going to stab her and it's going to be done in 1 episode. Why? Why is it so short? Why have we just got 1 more episode? Now, I'm kind of over Game of Thrones, as you might tell at this stage, so I don't know if I'd want more than 1 episode, but it's still rushed. This doesn't need to be in 1 episode. Defeating this villain, the biggest villain of the show, is going to be the quickest defeat ever. How long did it take him to get rid of Cersei? Not that they were trying for that long, but Cersei was ruling for quite some time, a couple of seasons. Dany's going to be the queen. I'm assuming she's the queen. I assume she gets coronated. I think she's going to be the queen for like a day. And bang, stabbed in the back, done. And she's the biggest sort of antagonist that we've ever seen in Game of Thrones. She is the Mad Targaryen. She's the one that everybody was afraid of, except she's worse than all of them. She has a dragon. And so although she has this big army that we can see in the trailer, I don't think it matters because I don't think there's going to be a battle. I can't see how a battle will work out if Jon is just going to swear fealty to Dany and then stab her. And so if there is not a big battle in Episode 6, where is the big epic battle from Season 8? Okay, Episode 5 didn't have a battle as far as I'm concerned. It had a dragon blowing stuff up. That wasn't really a battle. You could call it dragon porn. It showed a lot of buildings blowing up, a lot of people getting burnt. There was no battle. So Episode 5 did not have a battle. So what are we left with for being the big epic battle that ends things off for Game of Thrones? Well, Episode 3. Episode 3 is the only battle we even have. Again, I don't think there's going to be a battle in Episode 6. So if there's no battle in Episode 6, the last big battle we end things on is what's in Episode 3, which makes Episode 3 even more worse than what it appeared to be. I was fine with the battle in Episode 3 the way it was, because I didn't think it was a big battle. I thought the big battle was coming in Episode 5 or 6. So I didn't think, oh, this is going to be the big ultimate thing we're going to see for Game of Thrones. This is just the mid-season sort of fight. I didn't expect anything to be epic, and there wasn't anything epic. It did have the Night King getting killed, but the battle itself was fairly repetitive and not much going on. So that's actually going to be our best battle of this season. So that's how bad this season has went. The Episode 3 battle, that's it. That's your big climax. That is our big battle. So what else can actually happen? We've only got 1 episode. There's not a lot of time to do anything. What else can happen? Well, what I've got here is, this is a list of all the people I think are still alive. A couple of these might be wrong, but I don't believe I've seen any of these people actually die. So on the left-hand side here, I've got all the people that are probably ruling one of the 7 kingdoms and the Riverlands. If you remember back to Season 1, King Robert at the time was talking about whether or not you'd made the 8. You had to make it with 8 girls, 1 from each of the 7 kingdoms and 1 from the Riverlands. So the Riverlands aren't considered a kingdom, but they are one of the areas within this region, one of the 8 areas. So I've got on the left here, all the people I think right now are probably the rulers of one of those 8 areas. And on the right-hand side, I've got all of the other people I think are still alive that are somewhat important or have been prominent in the show. Now, I've got about 4 people I've left off the list here. We've got the guy that was in charge of the Glovers. He was the guy that was in Blackadder. I haven't put him here. And we've got the young lady that was in charge of the Carstarks. I think she's still alive. I haven't listed her. I also haven't listed Gillian Hot Pie. So I don't think Gillian Hot Pie are going to be doing too much, but they are 2 characters that are somewhat prominent in the show or have repeat performances. And so on the left here, obviously I have Daenerys at the top. She's going to be running everything. Jon Snow's still the Warden of the North and sort of King of the North maybe. Robin Arryn's a little sickly kid that's in charge of the Vale. I don't believe he's died in the series yet. Alaria Sand, I'm not 100% sure if she's dead. I don't remember seeing her die. The last I remember, she was locked up in a dungeon under the Red Keep by Cersei, and one of her daughters was locked up across from her. Cersei poisoned her daughter and said that she's going to have to sit there and watch her daughter rot. So I think Alaria Sand is still alive. She's the ruler of Dawn, but I don't know if they're going to bring her back. I have a feeling they'll just forget about her and not care, but I think she's still alive. Tyrion Lannister's obviously now the Warden of the West. He's only Lannister really left. Gendry Baratheon was promoted up to be in charge of all the Baratheons. He's in charge of Storm's End, and I think the kingdom around there is called the Stormlands. Yara Greyjoy's the Queen of the Iron Islands. Edmund Tully, I think, would be the person that's running the Riverlands now. His father was the ruler of Riverlands. It was then given away to Walder Frey. Walder Frey was then murdered by Arya, and she poisoned all the Freys. So he's probably back being the ruler of the Riverlands. And then we've got the Reach, the rich area of land north of Dawn, but underneath everything else. And Bronn was promised Highgarden, and Highgarden was the capital of that area. So if he gets Highgarden, he may very well be the ruler of that area. But Samwise Tarly's father was given control of that area, and his father and his brother are dead. So Samwell may very well be the ruler of the Reach now. So one of those 2, I believe, will be ruling that. Samwell's also sort of a maester, or tried to be a maester. He's also taken the Black, so whether he can inherit is a bit vague, but let's say he can. So I think Samwell or Bronn, they'll be the ones ruling the final kingdom. And so I think this is the way that all the people would line up if we actually had more episodes to do stuff in. Okay, I think on the left-hand side here, Daenerys would have Alaria Sand with her still. She'd have Yara with her. Gendry would be loyal to Daenerys. Grey Worm is obviously loyal to Daenerys. And Daario Naharis, I don't think he'll pop his head up again, but I believe he's still alive. And if she is going to get another character working for her or with her, that would be someone you'd have. I've listed Bronn on the left here because I don't really have more room on the right, and who knows who Bronn's loyal to. So I'm not saying Bronn would be loyal to Daenerys, but I've got to put Bronn somewhere. On the right-hand side, all of these people I think would line up to support Jon Snow. Obviously got Sansa Stark, Bran Stark, Arya Stark, Robin Arryn, Tyrion Lannister, Edmund Tully, Samwell Tarly, Tormund Giantsbane. Jon Royce is the guy that's sort of running the stuff for Robin Arryn. He's the guy that you see popping up every now and then. Doesn't do too much, but he's the guy in charge of the Vale. Davos Seaworth, Brianna Tarth, Podrick Paynes with Brienne, and Mira Reed. I believe Mira Reed is still alive. She fled, well, she didn't flee, but she left Winterfell to go back to her father's keep after she delivered Bran there. And I believe her keep that she was going to is down in the swamplands, down in the south part of the north. So I don't think the undead would have got there, so I believe she's still alive. I don't think she'll pop her head up, but she is someone who's been in the series, so I have listed her here nonetheless. And so we're not going to see this struggle between these 2 groups of people. At one point in time, all of them you could probably call the good guys, but the ones on the left now are all associated with Daenerys, and so they're obviously the evil camp. But we're not going to see this struggle between them. We're not going to see a fight. We're not going to see manipulations. Nothing interesting is going to happen. There could be interesting things, because the writers of the show obviously can't invent new things. All they can do is follow what George R. Martin says, and if he says nothing, they got nothing. That has to be why they've decided to do 6 episodes. And did they also take a year off in the hopes that George R. Martin would have some more books out? I mean, was that their actual plan? If we take a year off, he might have some new material for us, and then we don't have to actually write this stuff on our own. I don't know, but it just feels like everything since his books ran out have gotten worse, and this whole season has been very rushed, and nothing has happened. Really nothing's happened. How did Arya and the Hound travel down and we don't get to see all the conversations between them traveling down? They couldn't even be bothered writing it. They didn't have any of that. It was just suddenly everybody is now at King's Landing. None of the transitions happened. I mean, obviously they couldn't show it because they only have 6 episodes. Why did they only have 6 episodes? There's plenty more they could put into the episodes. At the end of the battle at Winterfell, the Long Night, on episode 4, they spent something like 10 or 20 minutes just mourning all the dead, which is perfectly fine if you've got another 20 seasons, or 20 episodes, I should say. But when it's episode 4 out of 6, you don't have 15 minutes to just do nothing. I mean, what's going to happen in this episode 6? Episode 6, the last episode ever, are we going to get 10 to 20 to 30 minutes of grief? because a million people have just been burnt to death. So is nothing going to happen for the first 10, 20, 30 minutes? I think that's possible. I think that's a big possibility. I think it'll be a big mistake, but it happened in the other episodes. That's maybe what we're going to get here in this episode. So what else are we probably going to miss out on? Well, first of all, Jon Snow's whole secret history is basically worthless. Okay, he is the secret Targaryen, he's the secret heir, and it says he's just going to take the black and it doesn't matter. And it also sounds like no one is really going to know about it. He also doesn't need it. He was the king of the North. He's now the warden of the North, or whatever's really happened with his title. But he had everyone in the North, everyone in the Vale, and probably whoever was left in the Riverlands under him. He was basically running half or more of the actual Seven Kingdoms already, and he didn't have his Targaryen name. He didn't need to be the secret Targaryen heir to actually have people rally behind him, and he could rightfully take the throne without being a Targaryen. Okay, just by being the king in the North. So the whole idea that he has this secret sort of identity is completely unneeded. It's not like he had no troops and then he revealed he's a Targaryen and then these people flocked to his banner and now he's able to make something of himself. Not at all. He's already made something of himself. He doesn't need to be a Targaryen, and that doesn't need to be revealed in the last episode. It doesn't do anything for us to actually reveal that information. Sansa Stark, I think, is going to be the biggest letdown. I think she has one of the more complete character arcs. She starts off, in her own words, as a silly little girl or a stupid little girl, and she's actually become what we're told is a master manipulator, but she's not actually done any manipulation yet. And I think that's what's left for her to do, but I don't think it can happen anymore. We had a lot of bad looks between her and Daenerys. I really hope that one of them would kill the other one, and I really hope that Sansa would do a lot of scheming. She's going to use all these tips and tricks she's learnt from Littlefinger and seemingly what she's learnt from Cersei. But she's not really done anything. She did order that Littlefinger should be killed. That wasn't really a kind of manipulation behind the scenes. That was more in your face, kill him off. But we're told that she's very clever now. She's not been able to show that in any way, and I don't think she'll do much in this episode coming up at all. She may not be in the episode. She may remain in the North. The epilogue that's leaked out says she remains as the sort of warden of the North after Jon's sort of given up and went up and got in the black. But Sansa may not be in the episode at all. If she is in the episode, I don't think there's too much for her to manipulate. And again, if you look at this list of people on the left, that's who there is to manipulate. I don't think Dario Naharis will be there. I don't think Bronn will be with them on the left there. The only person you can really say you could manipulate is probably Gendry. And Gendry I don't think has any power at all. I think he'll be loyal to Daenerys, but I think he'll also do whatever Arya tells him to do, perhaps. But anyway, there's not really anyone to manipulate for Sansa. I think that's a big shame that they've taken her character so far, and yet she's still not going to actually manipulate anything for an outcome. Bran has just been a complete waste the whole time as far as I'm concerned. He's just filled in backstory, basically. That's been his job. He's got these skills. We get to see some things in the past to fill in stuff. We got to find out who Jon Snow was. But as I said before, it didn't actually matter who Jon Snow is. It's not really done anything. I suppose in a small way it led to Daenerys' madness. So you could say that if Jon Snow didn't reveal to her that he was the true heir, then maybe Dany wouldn't have went mad, and Jon Snow would probably still be seeing her. He's obviously had a problem with the incest and sort of broke that off, so she's gotten dumped by the person that she loves. I guess that helped as well. But that's all it's being used for. It's not actually being used directly for him to try to take the throne. It's being used in a roundabout way to show that this is why Daenerys has gone crazy. And so other than that, I don't really remember Bran doing too much. I don't remember any kind of detailed information to help out in battles or really let people know. I think he might have said that the White Walkers were at the East Watch by the Sea, told him they're on the East bit was going to get attacked, maybe. But that might be it. Other than that, he's got these powers he never uses, so it seems a complete waste of time. Arya had this look that we saw in the trailer where it looks like she's going to kill somebody. She didn't kill anyone in the last episode. I thought it was pretty weak that she actually turned around and didn't try and kill Cersei. And the Hound basically wasn't telling the truth, not to say he was lying, but he said, if you don't turn around now, you'll die. No, she could have followed the Hound and stabbed the Queen when the Queen walked past the Hound and the Hound couldn't be bothered killing her. So the Queen could have died easily by Arya's hand. But once again, it was probably a case of George R. R. Martin said the Queen had to die in Jaime's arms, so we couldn't have Arya actually successfully kill the Queen. But if we look at the list of people on the left here again, if Arya is going to assassinate someone, the leaks say that she doesn't kill Daenerys, so who on the left here would be interesting? Okay, I think her killing Grey Worm, or trying to kill him I should say, that would be interesting. Now the epilogue does say that she leaves, so she's not going to die. But does she kill Grey Worm? That could be interesting. Does she kill Gendry? Is Gendry not going to join up with Jon Snow? Which, again, there is no real joining up going to happen. This one episode is not going to have these two camps, but this is just the way I think people's loyalties would be. But does she kill Gendry? That would be quite a kind of a shock, if you like. I know they want to put some shock value in, but is she going to murder him? Hilary Sand, I don't think she'll turn up. I think they've just forgotten about her and she won't turn up at all. I believe she's alive. I believe she's the ruler of Dawn still. And I believe Dawn has the largest army if anyone left. It's the only army that's not been decimated as far as I can tell. I don't think that it was with the Highgarden army when the Lannisters destroyed that. I could be wrong, but I don't think it was. And I don't think it was on all the boats when she was on the ships that Yara Greyjoy had and she got captured. So I think that Dawn actually has their entire army, and so she's probably the ruler of the most powerful army in the land right now. I think we won't see her again, and Dawn, they basically just forgot about it. I don't know why they introduced Dawn at all. They did nothing with Dawn, and then just, forget it. So she probably won't rock up. Yara, I have a feeling she'll be on the Iron Islands the whole time and won't turn up, but maybe she'll turn up to, bend the knee to the new queen, but I have a feeling we won't see Yara. Gendry might not pop up. If he does, it'll just be for a non-reason. Grey Worm will definitely be there. I think Grey Worm has to die, and I can't see he's going to live when he sees Daenerys actually dies as well. So Grey Worm has to die. Daario Naharis, I don't think he'll turn up. So effectively speaking, the people on the left, I think we might just get Grey Worm and Daenerys, and that's all we're going to actually see. And as for the people on the right, I don't think Robin Arryn will turn up. Tyrion's obviously going to be there. He's got no army, he's got no troops, and he's obviously done with Daenerys, so he's not got much to do. I don't think we'll see Edmund Tully. Samuel will turn up. It does say he's on the council for Bran at the end. I don't think Samuel will do too much. Tolman's Giantsbane might be in the epilogue. If Jon does, in fact, take the Black and go up north, he may have a reunion with Tormund, and he may also have a reunion with Ghost, because he just sort of gave up on Ghost and said, oh, you're not this puppy that I've raised forever and you've saved my life. Just send him up north. We don't need him anymore. Doesn't even give him a last pat in the head. Well, maybe we'll get to see a reunion between Jon Snow and Ghost. And maybe that's why they didn't have him say a big goodbye, because they knew he was going to be back up there anyway. So who knows? But that might happen in the epilogue. Euron Royce will probably pop his head up and not do too much. Davos Seaworth, same as Tyrion, he's got no power, but he'll be saying some words of wisdom for people. Brienne may be with Sansa, which means if Sansa is up north and doesn't turn up, we won't see Brienne again. If Brienne's not there, we won't see Podrick. And I don't think we'll see Mara Reed. So most of these people that are still alive, I don't think they're going to do too much. We've only got one episode. There isn't too much to do. So very unfortunate. But not only is Bran going to be the king, which I think is a horrible idea, whatever else happens in the episode is still going to be bad. So the whole episode is going to be bad. Episode 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 were bad. The very fact that Bran is the ruler of the end is an absolute terrible ending. But the journey to the ending this season, I think that's the real terrible thing. If Bran was the ruler at the very end, you see it in the last couple of minutes, you go, well, that's a terrible ending, but the rest of the season was good. You can't say that. The rest of the season was terrible, and it's built up to this absolutely atrocious ending. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you next time.